The carnival buzzed with excitement. Kids, drawn to the colorful maze, giggled as they entered. The wooden walls, painted bright yellow and green, towered over them. Each turn promised another adventure. But something was wrong. The air grew cold. The happy sounds of the carnival faded. A low whisper seemed to emanate from the maze itself. It beckoned them forward, deeper into its clutches. The children, their laughter now silenced, felt a chill run down their spines. They huddled closer, fear replacing their earlier joy. The whispers grew louder, seeming to come from the very walls that surrounded them. The maze, once an amusement, now felt like a hungry beast, its wooden jaws ready to trap them inside. The children wanted to turn back, to escape the growing darkness, but the path behind them had vanished. Sarah, her heart pounding, stumbled through the maze. Where were the others? She had become separated from her friends in the twisting corridors. Panic welled up inside her as she realized the truth. This was no ordinary maze. It was alive, toying with them, trapping them. She had to escape. She ran, her small legs pumping furiously. Each turn led to another dead end. Thorns tore at her clothes, leaving tiny scratches on her skin. Tears streamed down her face, blurring her vision. Then she saw it, a glimmer of light. With a burst of adrenaline, she pushed through the last wall of the maze and tumbled out onto the soft grass. She was free. Gasping for breath, Sarah stumbled towards the flashing lights of the carnival. Her cries for help drew a crowd. Police officers listened intently as she described the disappearing children and the whispering maze. They followed her back, their faces grim, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. But the maze was gone. In its place stood a single, ordinary-looking maze. No whispers, no chilling cold. Just the sound of carnival music drifting on the breeze. The officers, their skepticism evident, searched the area. They found no trace of the other children, no evidence of the sinister maze Sarah had described. Shaking their heads, they labeled it a child's nightmare, a figment of an overactive imagination. But Sarah knew the truth. The maze was real, and it would be back. 10 years had passed. The memory of that night still haunted Sarah's dreams. The carnival was back in town, its Ferris wheel a beacon against the twilight sky. And so was the maze. She stood across the street, her heart heavy. The painted wood seemed to pulse with an evil energy. She had to warn someone, but who would believe her? Then she saw them. A group of teenagers, their laughter echoing in the night air, heading towards the maze's entrance. History was about to repeat itself. She couldn't let that happen. Not again. Steeling her nerves, Sarah ran towards the maze, her own screams lost in the cacophony of carnival noise. She had to reach them in time. She had to save them. The teenagers, oblivious to the danger, ventured deeper into the maze. Just like before, the air turned icy cold. The cheerful sounds of the carnival faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. They stopped, their smiles gone, a sense of unease settling upon them. The maze had them in its grasp. One by one, the paths behind them disappeared, leaving them stranded in the labyrinth. They called out to each other, their voices echoing through the narrow corridors. But their words were swallowed by the oppressive silence. Panic surged through them, their hearts pounding like trapped birds. They were trapped. Just as despair threatened to engulf them, they saw her. A young woman, her eyes wild with fear, racing towards them. Behind her, a figure emerged from the shadows. A man, his face etched with the same terror they felt. The teenagers stared, their mouths agape, as the two figures reached them. "Don't move!" Sarah cried, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "This maze, it's alive!" The teenagers, confused and frightened, could only stare at their unexpected rescuers. The man, his voice trembling, spoke. "We escaped years ago, but it brought us back. To help you." Their words, as unbelievable as they seemed, held a ring of terrifying truth. They were trapped in a nightmare. The maze shifted around them, its wooden walls closing in. The whispers grew louder, a chorus of chilling voices urging them to surrender. The two survivors, Sarah and the man whose name they learned was David, knew there was only one way to save the teenagers. They had to appease the maze's hunger. With tears streaming down their faces, they said their goodbyes. The teenagers watched in horror as Sarah and David, holding hands, turned and walked back into the heart of the maze. They disappeared into the shadows, their silhouettes swallowed by the darkness. The maze shuddered, the whispers reaching a deafening crescendo, then silence. The teenagers were safe. The maze stood silent, its wooden walls no longer menacing but strangely peaceful. The teenagers, their escape now clear, raced towards the exit. As they tumbled out, gasping for air, they cast one last look at the maze. It stood alone, bathed in the soft glow of the carnival lights. But something was different. Two figures, barely perceptible, could be seen within its depths. Sarah and David, their arms wrapped around each other, stood at the maze's center. Their faces, once etched with fear, were now serene. They were no longer prisoners but guardians, forever bound to the maze, their sacrifice ensuring that no one else would become trapped. The carnival continued, its music and laughter filling the night. The teenagers, forever marked by their encounter, never spoke of what they had witnessed. But sometimes, in the quiet of the night, they could hear it. A faint whisper carried on the breeze, a whisper of gratitude, a whisper of peace. The maze stood silent, its secret safe. The sacrifice made, the debt paid. The whispers faded into the night. Please like and subscribe. I will be forever grateful.